Hello everyone, our lesson today about third conditional. Firstly, I will tell you a story about Mike, who was a bus driver for 50 years. Mike was a bus driver for 50 years. He met his wife at work. She was also a bus driver. They have 4 children together. Mike was a bus driver because his dad was a bus driver, but he always had a secret dream job. Can you guess what it was? Mike wanted to be a firefighter. Is it possible for him to be a firefighter now? No, he is too old. Age 70, Mike is thinking about what his life would have been like as a firefighter. Is Mike imagining a present or a past situation? Past. Okay. Is he imagining a real or imaginary situation? Imaginary. Excellent. Is Mike imagining a present or past situation? Past situation. Yes. Is he imagining a real or imaginary situation? Imaginary. Very good. Did Mike rescue animals? No. Was it possible now or in the past? In the past. Is Mike thinking about the past on the present? Yes. Is Mike thinking about something imaginary or something real? Imaginary. Is Mike thinking about the past or the present? Of course, the past. Is Mike thinking about something imaginary or something real? Imaginary. Is Mike thinking about the past or the present? The past. Is Mike thinking about something imaginary or something real? Imaginary. But then Mike remembers something important. If I had been a firefighter, I wouldn't have met my wife. If I had been a firefighter, I wouldn't have had my children. If I had been a firefighter, I wouldn't have traveled the city in my bus. Mike hugged his wife and had a great retirement party. Can you remember the sentences? If I had been a firefighter, I would have worn a firefighter's uniform. If I had been a firefighter, I would have rescued people. If I had been a firefighter, I would have helped animals. If I had been a firefighter, I would have used a water hose. If I had been a firefighter, I would have got an award. If I had been a firefighter, I would have driven a fire truck. If I had been a firefighter, I wouldn't have met my wife. If I had been a firefighter, I wouldn't have had my children. If I had been a firefighter, I wouldn't have traveled the city in my bus. If I had been a firefighter, I would have driven a fire truck. This is the third conditional. هذه هي الحالة الثالثة من حالات if الشرطية. We use it to talk about an imaginary past situation. نستخدمها للتحدث عن موقف خيالي في الماضي. Something that didn't happen. شيء لم يحدث. How to form it? We have two clauses. The first clause we use if plus past perfect. The second clause we use would plus have plus past participle. نستخدم if plus الماضي التام. الجملة التانية would have والتصريف التالت. For example, if I had been a firefighter, I would have driven a fire truck. يمكننا استخدام if في منتصف الجملة. We start with would have plus past participle, then if plus past perfect. For example, I would have driven a fire truck if I had been a firefighter. If I had been a firefighter, I would have driven a fire truck. We have pronunciation note. Had abbreviation is apostrophe D. Would have sounds like would have. Negative and question forms. In negative form, we use, in the first clause we use hadn't, and the second clause we use wouldn't. If I hadn't been a firefighter, I wouldn't have met my wife. Question form. We use would you have or what would you have. For example, if you hadn't been a firefighter, would you have met your wife? Or what would you have done if you hadn't been a firefighter? Extra points. When do we use a comma in the third conditional form? We use comma between clauses when if is at the beginning of the sentence. When if is in the middle of the two clauses, no comma is needed. نستخدم comma عندما يكون if في بداية الجملة. أما إذا كانت if في منتصف الجملة فلا نستخدم comma. Now use your ideas to complete these sentences. Be creative. Now we finished. Thank you and goodbye.